Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 4 of the 39 Storey Treehouse by Andy Griffiths and Terry Denton, continuing from chapter 8, Professor Stupido's story. Professor Stupido, the world-famous uninventor, first discovered his powers of uninvention as a young boy when his wind-up toy robot refused to play with him one day. In a rage, he grabbed a hammer, raised it high above his head, and with one mighty blow uninvented his toy robot forever. "You are a rotten wind-up toy. You whir and click and stammer. I hereby uninvent you with the help of my dad's hammer. Smash! Bleep!" Not long after uninventing his toy robot, he discovered he could also uninvent boring books. "Your plot is boring and your characters dire. I hereby uninvent you via the fire. Fling!" As Professor Stupido grew older, he became capable of ever more dazzling feats of uninvention. One day, while out walking in the park, he saw a hot ice cream seller and thought a hot ice cream would be just the thing to warm him up. "Hot ice cream! Get your hot ice cream! Hottest ice cream in town!" Just what I need. Unfortunately, the hot ice cream was so hot that it burned the professor's tongue, and in a fit of rage he uninvented hot ice cream on the spot. "You burnt my tongue and made me scream! I uninvent you, hot ice cream!" While the professor was happy with his latest uninvention, however, many hot ice cream lovers were not. "My ice cream is freezing cold! I hate you, Professor Stupido!" Not long after uninventing hot ice cream, Professor Stupido's increasingly amazing powers of uninvention were put to the test when he was buzzed by a gang of flying beetroot riders. "Ha ha! Hee hee! Varoom! Blast and confound those flying beetroots," said Professor Stupido. "I've got a good mind to uninvent them once and for all." "You can't uninvent flying beetroots, old man," said one of the beetroot riders. "Flying beetroots are here to stay." "Oh yeah," said Professor Stupido. "We'll see about that." Stupid flying beetroots whizzing through the air. I hereby uninvent flying beetroots everywhere. Suddenly there was no such thing as flying beetroots, and the surprised ex-flying beetroot riders fell from the sky and crashed to the ground. Ouch! Oof! Professor Stupido had successfully uninvented flying beetroots, but unfortunately the world was now full of bruised and angry ex-flying beetroot riders. "We hate you, Professor Stupido!" One afternoon, Professor Stupido was out taking his daily stroll, thinking of new things to uninvent, when a 10-ton frog-potamus jumped out of a tree and attached itself to his head. "Blast and confound these stupid frog-potamuses, always jumping out of trees and attaching themselves to my head," yelled Professor Stupido. "I'm going to uninvent the lot of them." And so he did. "Of frog-potamuses, I am not a fan. Cease your existence as fast as you can." Not everybody, however, was happy with the professor's latest uninvention, especially not the Royal Society of Frog-Potamus Spotters. "Oh no, what have you done?" yelled the president of the Royal Society of Frog-Potamus Spotters. "Howl! I've uninvented frog-potamuses, that's what," said Professor Stupido. "Thanks to me, nobody will have their head swallowed by a frog-potamus ever again." "But you've made them extinct," said the president. "What will frog-potamus spotters spot now?" Unfortunately for Professor Stupido, it wasn't only frog-potamus spotters, flying beetroot riders, and hot ice cream fans who failed to appreciate his genius. Soon the whole world was united against him and his uninventions. "Where did my talking pineapple go? And what about snake dogs? Where did they go? I miss smell-o-vision, and walking cars, and my edible bed. Bring back vegetable aeroplanes, and chocolate pillows, yum! Electric cheese toasting cats, custard gloves, disposable grandmas." Finally, the people of Earth had a big meeting and voted to uninvent Professor Stupido. They picked him up, tied him to a rocket, good riddance, and blasted him to the dark side of the moon, where he wouldn't be able to annoy them with his stupid uninventions ever again. The end. "You fools! Is that a flying beetroot? No, there's no such thing as a flying beetroot anymore." Chapter 9. The Dark Side of the Moon. "See," says Terry. "What did I tell you? There is such a thing as an uninventor, and Professor Stupido is the best uninventor in the world." "Yes," I say, "I can see that. But the only problem is that he's not in the world. He's on the dark side of the moon. How would we even get in touch with him?" Easy, says Terry. We get a rocket, fly to the moon, find him and bring him back. What could be easier or more simple than that? Well, nothing, I say, except for the fact we don't have a rocket. No, not at the moment, says Terry, but I could draw one. How are you going to do that? I say. Your drawing hand is all bandaged up, remember? Oh, yeah, says Terry, I forgot. I guess I could try, I say. I don't think that's such a good idea, Andy, says Terry. You can't draw, remember? Not as well as you, no, but I think I could draw a rocket. I mean, how hard could it be to draw a rectangle with a triangle on the top? Watch this. I pick up a pen and draw a rocket, but it's not quite as easy as I thought. No offence, Andy, says Terry, but that's pretty much the worst drawing of a rocket I've ever seen. There's something wrong with the pen, I say. The pen is fine, says Terry. I think it's you that's the problem. But I've got an idea. How about I do a dot-to-dot rocket? Then all you have to do is join the dots. I don't know, I say. I'm not very good at dot-to-dot pictures. They're really hard. Don't worry, says Terry. I'll make it really easy for you. Terry takes the pen with his good hand and starts dotting the air in front of us. There's your dots, Andy, he says when he's finished. Now all you have to do is join them up. Good luck. He hands me the pen. I start connecting the dots. It doesn't look much like a rocket to me, I say, as I join the last dot. That's because you didn't do it right, says Terry. Rub it out and have another go. I try again, but this time it's even worse. Quit mucking around, Andy, says Terry. I'm not, I say, rubbing out the lines. Let me have one more go. This time I try curvy lines, but it doesn't look much like a rocket. That's hopeless, says Terry. Why don't you just follow the numbers? I say, you know how I can't really draw? Yes. Well, I can't really count either. You can't count, says Terry. Well, I can a little bit, I say, just not in the right order. I had a very bad teacher. Andy's very bad teacher. Numbers 1, 2, 6, 9, 8, 3, 0, 4, 7, 5. Wow, says Terry. I see what you mean. How about I help you count? I'll say the numbers and all you have to do is draw the lines, straight lines, between the dots. I don't know, I say. That sounds kind of complicated. You can do it, Andy, says Terry. I'll start you off. 1. 1, I say, putting the tip of the pencil on the dot next to the number 1. 2, says Terry. 2, I say, drawing a line from dot number 1 to dot number 2. 3, says Terry. 3, I say, drawing a line from dot number 2 to dot number 3. That's it, Andy, says Terry. You're really getting the hang of it. Let's keep going. 4. 47 dots later, we have a surprisingly well-drawn dot-to-dot rocket. Wow, I did it, I say. I joined the dots. I'm a genius. I knew you could do it, says Terry. Now all we need is some windows, and we're good to go. I draw a couple of circles on the rocket. How's that, I say? They'll do nicely, says Terry. Start the countdown, Andy. 6, 8, 9, 4, 3, 10, 1, 5, 7, 2. Blast off! The day our rocket went completely out of control all over the universe and then crash landed on the moon. Earth. To dark side of the moon. As you may have noticed, our dot-to-dot rocket goes completely out of control and flies all over the universe and then crash lands on the moon. I wonder which side of the moon we're on, says Terry. Well, I say, judging by the position of the stars and the relative lack of light, I'd say we're on the dark side. Wow, says Terry, you may not be very good at drawing or counting, but you sure know your way around the universe, Andy. Not really, I say, but I'm quite good at reading, and that sign over there says, the dark side of the moon. The dark side of the moon, population 1. Brilliant, says Terry, and isn't that Professor Stupido heading this way? I think you're right, I say, but he doesn't look too happy to see us. Who are you? Yells Professor Stupido. And what are these numbers and dots doing all over my nice clean moon? Sorry about that, I say. I'm Andy and this is my friend Terry, and the numbers and dots are the remains of our dot-to-dot rocket. We had a bit of a rough landing, but don't worry, we'll clean it all up. Well, see that you do, says Professor Stupido. I don't like mess or uninvited visitors. In fact, I've got a good mind to uninvent the pair of you. No, wait, says Terry, please don't. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't, says Professor Stupido. Because we're your biggest fans, says Terry. You are, he says. I thought everybody on Earth hated me. Not us, says Terry. We think you're the greatest uninventor who ever lived. Oh, I don't know about that, says Professor Stupido. Yes, you are, says Terry. You're a genius. Well, yes, I suppose you're right, says the professor. I mean, any bozo can invent things, but it takes real skill to uninvent them. Exactly, says Terry, and that's why we're here. We need to ask you a huge favour. And what might that be, said the Professor Stupido. Terry took a deep breath. Can you come to our treehouse and uninvent a machine for us? Not on your life, says Professor Stupido. I'm not going back to Earth. Those ignorant fools down there don't appreciate my genius. They strapped me to a giant firework and sent me on a one-way ride to the dark side of the moon. Yes, we know, says Terry, but this is different because we're asking you to uninvent something. Please, you're the only one who can help us. I don't know, says Professor Stupido. Please, I say. Pretty please, says Terry. Pretty please with sugar on top, I add. Pretty please with sugar and a marshmallow on top, says Terry. Says Professor Stupido. Marshmallows, you say? Yes, says Terry. We've got a machine that follows you around and fires marshmallows into your mouth whenever you're hungry. Well, I can see why you would want me to uninvent a machine like that, says Professor Stupido. It sounds very annoying. No, not that machine, I say. We like that machine. It's the Once Upon a Time machine we want you to uninvent. A time machine, says Professor Stupido. I've always wanted to uninvent one of those. No, says Terry. It's a Once Upon a Time machine. I invented it to write and draw books, but it's taken over and won't let us back into our treehouse because it thinks it writes better books than we do. That's outrageous, said Professor Stupido. Machines need to know their place. It would give me great pleasure to uninvent an upstart machine like that. So you'll do it, says Terry. Yes, I will, says Professor Stupido. When can we leave? Just as soon as we get our rocket back, I say. Terry and I collect all the numbers and dots and redraw our rocket as fast as we can before Professor Stupido changes his mind. It's not long before we have a brand new rocket, ready to take us all back to Earth. Dot-to-dot rocket, eh? Says Professor Stupido, walking all around it. What an ingenious combination of dots, numbers and pen lines. It would be both a great challenge and an honour to uninvent such an imaginative invention. No, I yell. We need it to get back to Earth. Relax, chuckles Professor Stupido, as we all climb into the rocket. I was only joking. I think you'll find that as well as being the world's greatest uninventor, I also have the world's greatest sense of humour. OK, Andy, says Terry. Start the countdown. I concentrate as hard as I can and begin. 10, 9, 8, 3, 6, 2, 7, 1, 44, 5. Blast off! The day our rocket went completely out of control and flew all over the universe and crash landed on Earth. And that is where we will leave part 4 of the 39-story treehouse by Andy Griffiths and Terry Denton. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story and lots more stories and videos coming your way very soon. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, that's always appreciated. Thanks for your support, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.